So how do these LinkedIn creators bring in six-figure incomes, drive a ton of traffic that are reaching out to their email boxes with countless opportunities, and work with some of the biggest companies in the world? Well, they leverage their LinkedIn banner, because the LinkedIn banner is the only place that you could inject some creativity into your LinkedIn page. And that drives the vibe, the feel, the expectation of everything else that's to come. So today I'm going to show you how to create LinkedIn banners by using my 10 years of experience as a designer. And I'm going to teach you in concepts in a way that is super easy for everyone to understand. We're going to do it all on Canva. And if you prefer to use Photoshop, InDesign, I know all the real designers like using those applications. You can use those as well. Also, if you haven't watched my analysis, the case study on all of these banners that I chose, then watch the other video on that, because that will lay out the foundations on why these are good banners. And without further ado, let's begin. Okay, so let's start by jumping on Canva. On Canva, we're gonna do LinkedIn on these templates that they have here. The number here to look for is 1584 by 396 pixels. This is the LinkedIn background photo. This is what we'll be using. And on here, we're gonna take our examples from the ones that we did from the case studies, which were these. And we're gonna start with this first one, which is the Peak Performance Insights one. So I'll drag that in there, and then we'll have this as our reference. So I'll just add another page. So as this reference, I'll set it as the background for the first one. And then on the bottom, which is where we're gonna do our actual editing, we'll start by creating the background. So as you can see here, there's a background on the top, which is kind of dark, kind of purple at the same time. So I'm not quite sure what color it is, but we'll go and measure that out in a second. So essentially his background looks like this. Right now it's green. Once we press this button and we get the color dropper tool, we can figure it out. So it looks like it's between purple and black. That's what it's using. We could just use it as an example, but if you're creating your own, I highly suggest you choose your own colorway. But for his, it looks something like this color. And then for the secondary color, it's actually a little bit lighter. So looking back here, it's kind of like a cog in a wheel. So we could just type up a cog or maybe a wheel or something. Essentially, it's in the graphics. So we could just choose one of these, minimal wheel maybe. And we just want to find something to fill in the back. And if there's nothing really, then I like the cog that was there earlier. So for the cog, we could just throw it up here and have it be here. Now, we could also cut it a little bit to have it look like what they did. Okay, so, oops. So we'll have it here, and then we'll change the color with the dropper tool again. And that's essentially the color that they used. Our thing isn't big enough, so I think we should just make it bigger and keep it here. All right, so there's that element. There, the design element on the left side, which is the wheel cog thing that he used. And then on the bottom, there's a iPhone. So for that, you would like to find a iPhone frame. And then from the iPhone frame, you can drag in a photo. So from here, I'll type in phone so that we can get this frame up. So maybe this frame right here. On Canva, it makes it a lot easier to just drag in a photo into a phone frame, because there's this default template that's already there. So here's the phone. I'll make it a little bigger so that it matches the same size as our example. And then we could take a photo. So I have my LinkedIn pulled up. I'll just take a photo of the LinkedIn so that we can have something to just use as an example. So I'll drag that photo in. Oops, it's on the desktop. I'll drag that photo in. Now let me get back to that thing. Okay. So once that photo is there, you could drag it in and then adjust it according to your needs. And then as we can see here, there's my photo in this area. And now the next part is there's some text on here and the credibility markers on the bottom. Now I also noticed that his background area is a bit lower. So I'm going to drag mine a little bit, slight bit lower. Okay. So now that we have that, there's also an element here that we can use. That's a fun one. Super easy to get to. It's just arrow. You would just find maybe a graphic of an arrow or something, potentially this one. It looks very similar to the one he used. It's not exactly the same though, but sometimes as you're in this design game, you'll start noticing that some people use the same exact assets because they're available on Canva. So some big brands might have designers using the same things that you'll use. All right, so there's the arrow. It points to subscribe now and link in bio. So for the subscribe now part, it's a sans serif font, a bit of spacing. It looks condensed. And then underneath of that, there's a highlight mark. Okay, so text box. We'll find well, actually, let's see if they have any preset font things down here that we can just use and pull up on there. So a sans serif condensed, no, nothing quick. So if there's nothing quick, I'll just go and do it manually. So let's do subscribe now. And then while we're in here, let's just change the font up a bit. So what's a condensed font? So let's go and look up condensed. So there's ASAP condensed, Frutiger condensed, Barlow condensed. This looks promising. So let's go Barlow condensed and do that exact same phrase that he used. And then here we have that part. Now this doesn't have to say subscribe now. It could literally just say whatever it is that you want to say, like purchase this or go on a phone call or whatever your call to action is. It would fit perfectly here. So I'll change this arrow a bit just so it could point at the subscribe now. And then underneath the subscribe now, there's a highlight mark. And we can see if there's anything here that fits that, anything that you like. So I like this red one. So of course we're gonna change it a little bit bright, right? Okay, so we'll have it underneath. And then depending on what your colors are, we could use his colors now, just as an example. So I would just use the dropper tool again, go on yellow, go on that yellow. And then for the subscribe now, I could also do the same with that yellow. And then next to subscribe now is a link in bio thing. So this will just be what you want to advertise. And it doesn't have to be in all caps, just that first part was. So link in bio, and then let's change the font, right? Because it doesn't look so good if all the fonts are the same. So with that, we can go and use Montserrat or something. Montserrat's a nice classic font. And we will make the spacing closer together. I've noticed that that was a little bit too big. Okay, but once it's close together, the link L and I look a bit too close. So let's just give it a little bit of space. All right. And there's our link in bio section. Let's make it white like he did, just to give it some separation. And all right, here it is, link in bio. And then underneath of that is the slogan. So Peak Performance Insights, the newsletter for business, leadership, and self-mastery. All right, I'll go on text, see if there's any here that would just fit that area. Seems like there isn't. So I'll go and start a new text box again. That seems like the trend here. So new text box, great performance insights. Of course, let's change this font color so that it doesn't blend in too dark. All right, the newsletter for content creators, businesses, and personal brands. All right, now I will align left because aligning left looked good on his example there, so we'll use align left as well. Now for the font, I like the way that font looks. It gives me a sense of Helvetica or something more timeless. So let's change to Helvetica. And with Helvetica, you can use maybe a Helvetica now. I think it's a bold, kind of looks like bold. Semi-bold might be better. Regular works too. And it looks something like this. Now, of course, we could bold it. Now, bold does look a bit too bold, right? So depending on your aesthetic, this might be too bold. It might not be bold enough. But for me personally, I think it's a bit too bold. So I'm going to take off that bold and I'm going to make the spacing a bit better to compensate for that. So as you can see, the lines are pretty far spaced apart. So with a bit of adjustment, this looks a lot better because it's now more close instead of being spread out. And we can keep this in the same area or move it over a little bit, just like he did here. It kind of balances it out with that whole thing. And then on the bottom, we can have join 235,000 plus receiving weekly tips via email and social. That's a high number. So we'll have our own thing here. Maybe join 40,000 students like the ones on Udemy. Join 40,000 students who changed their life with content. We'll make this white. And we'll also change the size of it because it's a bit big right now. And like I said, I always like these smaller, minimal looking things, minimal looking fonts, because it seems like it's the new style trend in design right now, to just not be so loud and overly bold like it was a few years ago. So now that I look at it again, it looks like this. The spacing of these characters are a bit farther apart than I'd like, so I'm going to bring them a little bit closer, and that makes for it looking like this. Now I'm also going to make this a bit bigger, okay? And then from here, you could change the color of certain phrases. So that one we could change to the yellow just to emphasize that. Oops, insights as well. So we'll change this insights to yellow as well. And then on the bottom part, 40,000 students, we'll also make this yellow to emphasize that. And then on the bottom part, this is where you put down where you were featured or where you have credibility markers. So essentially, he just copied some logos from different brands that are credible in the space. Let's see if we have any logos here. Logos. All right. So there's a bunch of random logos here on the default thing that Canva has. So we can choose a couple ones. Maybe this. It's just to have here, so you know it's like a placeholder for logos. And you could also say like featured on or trusted by or something like that. A lot of people do that. It's a good trend. Okay, another one. Essentially, here you would just fill that thing up with logos. I wonder if there's official ones like Wall Street Journal. Nah. All right. So you get the idea. Actually, we can copy his logos, huh? Let's do that. Just take a screenshot of his logos, drag it in here, and then now we have our own logo section. If you want, you can remove the background too, just to get rid of all the white. And then boom, here we have our own. So this is how you create that first one. It's really simple, and it's professional, effective, and looks good. All right, now moving on to the second one, growth on social with a human touch. This one's simple too. We'll drag it in there for reference, finishes uploading, set it as background, and then from here, let's see what they have. So they have the serif font on top. So what serif fonts do we have? Maybe Bodoni. But actually first, let's start with the background that they have. It's just one plain color background. Plain color backgrounds are super easy. It adds a big touch to the whole thing without having too much work. And I've seen a lot of people put gradients as a background as well. Those are also just as effective. So for them, they use a blue. We could also reference that blue and use it again. Blue is a nice color. It's classy, and I've seen brands like Ralph Lauren use blue. So depending on what demographic you're targeting, seeing what popular brand of clothing that those people wear and the colors that those brands use, you could probably also reference those colors and then put it into your design. So from here, we'll add the grown social with a human touch. Okay. So text goes there, add a text box as usual, and we'll drag it to be a bit bigger. Grow on social. Let's do grow on LinkedIn with AI automation. All right. So this will be for an example of our page. Now I'll go and look for a serif font, like what type of serif font looks good. And we can choose something like maybe arnoldt. Arnoldt looks kind of like what they're using actually. But I do like some other ones like Garamond. Bodoni is a classic one. So if you look at their font, it's actually one of the ones that aren't really pushing it in terms of being hit. It's actually a very safe, secure font. So Garamond or something like that is a safe, secure font. So we could use that. Let's see. There's other variations that we can use. Bold, Garamond bold. Yeah, sure. Let's use Garamond bold. All right. And Garamond bold, we'll drag it to where they have theirs. And I think theirs is a little smaller. So we'll just make ours a little smaller. And then from here, under that, they have the little subtitle type of thing, which is super easy to do. We've done this before. Add the text, business to AI. Oops. So here you could either do it multiple times, or if you're lazy, you could just type it out, have a lot of space, type it out again, have a lot of space, and type it out again. But the best way to do it, or like the best practice, is actually to have multiple little ones, because that way you can edit them individually. So here's business to AI. I would just duplicate it, bring one over, human to human. Well, I guess AI to content, and then maybe content to publishing, and then the content to publish. All right. So there's our little text. Now you can see they have a bit of space and it's a little smaller than ours. I'm always a sucker for having smaller font. So we'll make that a little smaller, just a tad bit smaller. All right. And then underneath it says as seen on, which like we did with the last one, we could just copy all of these. All right. Got the badges, drop it in there, and then here we have it. But if you don't have like how we have it here easily, just copying and pasting it in, you can go on Google, look for the image of the logo, and then separate that logo from the background and stick it in there. So we could also put in as seen on, and for that one, center it, keep it in the middle. And I personally think it doesn't have to be fully capitalized as they have here, but it's okay if you want to have it fully capitalized. So you also see that they have this in a different color than white. And that's because it's not as important as the other things. So it's a bit of gray actually. And with that gray, it's kind of just saying like, hey, I'm here, notice me, but don't notice me so much. So let's just make it all capital. All right. And theirs is actually really small. So I'll make it even smaller. All right. As seen on, right in the center. And then here's the companies that we are seen on. Now on the left side is where you would put your company logo. So depending on what your logo is, that's where you would put it. No good logos on here, right? See, let's just grab one really quick. 5 seconds. So there's nothing in 5 seconds. I'm going to switch. Okay. Nothing really, huh? Okay, let's go with this. All right. This will be our logo. The M symbol, make it white. All right. It could be an M investment group or something. And essentially that's how they did it. Oh, one more thing. They had the color a bit lighter than the background. So you could sample their color or you could refer to your color. And then, so 0E1633, 0E1633, and then make it a bit lighter. So up to you how light you want it to be, just so it pops. You could play around by moving it around. So this is still blue, right? But not fully blue. And you get close to white too, but have a hint of blue. So that's what it looks like. I also see that they have a bit of closer spacing than we have right now, which I'm also always a sucker for. And here you go. This is it. Grow on LinkedIn with AI automation. Business to AI, AI to content, content to publish. And this, we could drag it here. All right. So this is how you would do the second design. All right, moving on to the third design. We have, who's this? This one. All right, I really like this one. She has made it so professional. Okay, so let's drag it in once again to reference. And as it's uploading, we will start another one. All right, set image to background. So there are a few things to note. The as seen in part is a small little rectangle. Subscribe to After the Bar podcast is also a small little rectangle. And then here is not a rectangle. It's the font written down. All right, cool. So with those, we can start first by going for the background. Now the background is a grainy texture and we can look for maybe something like this and then we'll drag it out. Or maybe this one's too small, huh? Okay, let's find a bigger one. Something like this. We'll drag out this grainy texture and then it should be a bit dark or less transparent, I mean. Okay, so let's do it this way. We'll go and first add a gradient background. So for hers, it's white and yellow. Maybe we can do white and gray. Yeah, white and gray works. But let's see what other choices we have. So there's white and gray. There's dark blue to light blue. Some blues. Oh, that's a cool one. I like that one. There's also this one. These are fun colors. Okay, let's go with a fun color because hers is pretty fun. So we'll go with the light blue to light green. All right, so that's our background color now. And then we have our grainy texture on there. So from there, you would just lower the transparency of this grainy texture so that it's just barely visible, but there. Okay, so we have the texture, we have the background. Now let's make the text box. So hers is a small little white rectangle box. So we could just go and write our text first. Super easy. Subscribe to my LinkedIn page, since we don't have a podcast yet, unless somebody wants to invite me to a podcast. So I'll have Helvetica. I like Helvetica. And then we can use a element like a rectangle and then add that in there. So here's our rectangle. Our rectangle is actually a square, or is actually white. So depending on how much we want our rectangle to pop out, it doesn't have to be white or whatever color, because our backgrounds are different colors, right? So here we can use our color tool, color dropper tool, and just choose what color you want it to be. So this one I just chose, it doesn't pop out as much as hers, but maybe it just fits in. Or maybe if you don't like this color, you can go on the wheel and just play around a bit and like have it close to white, but also have a hint of green in there so that it's still like, it still kind of fits, but a little different so it stands out. So maybe just have a bit of green, okay? And then we can have LinkedIn page in a different color, and it's also bolded. So maybe we'll do green since this page is on a green theme, or blue. All right, so this is the green. It's not popping as much. So let's go and give it a bit of pop. That's the green. We need like a stronger color. Oh, where is it? There's the green. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty strong. It pops out. But if you look at her tone, actually, her green is in a special type of more modern green. So if that's the whole thing with color. If you're good with color, you're able to change the vibe so much. So these days, it seems like things are headed towards kind of a darker color palette. And the way that she's had it, it's like darker and a bit muted at the same time. So I'll have it darker and a bit muted. And so we'll end up with something like this. All right. So after that's done, we can go and do the font stuff, the big, bold font. So condensed, it looks like a condensed font for sure. Oops. What is this? Add a text box. Okay. Follow for no nonsense AI and branding insights. Because, well, this is my my page, right? So example for my page. Now we'll have the big bolded as condensed, and we'll see what comes up. One of my favorite fonts from back in the day when I was advertising was DIN condensed. I don't know if I have it here. DIN next condense. Yeah. Okay. We'll do that. So DIN condense was a font that I used so much when I first started designing. But this DIN condensed and this one that she used is not the same. It's also not the same as the one that I used to use as well. So we'll find a thicker condensed font because that doesn't work. So we'll type in condensed and we'll see what we get. Dynamo looks kind of cool because it's so strong. And what else is a big condensed bold font? ITC motor corpus condensed. All right, well that's really thick. So let's see, how about this one? This one, semi-bold. Yeah, this works. But there's a lot of options as well, so you can just play around and find which one works best for you. And personally, I like going with the same fonts that I know that I really like, and then from there adjusting whether the character of the letter is closer or further apart. So for this one, I would use something that I usually use. So either Roboto, actually I use Roboto a lot, but probably not for this situation. Open, Sans, Poppins I use a lot too, but we can just go with this font. All right, so I'll make this a bit bigger. And as we made this bigger, you see that the spacing of the line is just so split out. So you just gotta bring it closer together. And as I brought it closer together, I feel like now the font is too condensed. So I think I'm gonna switch it. Now that it's too condensed, I'll go and look for something else that's sans serif, that's strong, maybe a Helvetica. But Helvetica now doesn't look very good. Yeah, maybe Barlow condensed was good. Semi-bold, yeah, semi-bold is good. Okay, so I'll do a semi-bold. It's a bit big right now. We'll just make it a little smaller. Drag it over there. All right. Now, I still need to fit myself in this photo, this area somehow, right? So when you put a person in there, make sure it has room. And also, as you're looking at the text, sometimes this text needs to be arranged in a way that just fits in with whoever is going to be in here. So I have uploaded photos of myself that we can probably use. Okay, so we can just use this one as an example. So I'll bring this here, I'll drag it out, and then we'll remove the background. So once the background is removed, I can put myself there as the example for the person that we'll use. All right, nice smile. And then here I am sitting down. Maybe it shouldn't show that I'm sitting down. Either way, it's just an example, right? You get the idea of the whole practice. All right, so there's me. There's this thing right here. And then underneath, she has some credibility markers. We're not gonna use these because I'm obviously not the #1 Singaporean something creator. But depending on what your credentials are, where you cut your teeth and have credibility, I would put that in there. So for me, I could probably put like Skillshare courses, like top teacher in Skillshare, or maybe the college I went to or something like that. But for now, we'll go and skip to the bottom part, which is the as seen on part. And then for that, it's just super simple, as we usually do. We'll start with a text box and have as seen. I prefer as seen on, actually. As seen on, and then we need an arrow symbol. So sometimes symbols, I just go and copy and paste it. It's a lot easier. Symbol, I'll copy that symbol, then I'll bring it in here, paste it in there, and then our font should be in black. Okay, our font's in black. And then here, I feel like the black font already sticks out and looks good. I think the reason why she has this white border thing here is because it was how she put together all these credentials. And it's just a easy way to move your credentials over, because you put it together on a white background, you move it over, still has the white background. So we can go and copy these, for example, as our credentials, paste it down in here. That the background was removed. No worries, we'll remove it. And we can see that it's not as clean, huh? Okay, so let's not use that one. Let's use the other one. So here we have this one, paste that in there, and then we could just cut out a few of these. Okay, so here you have the as seen on, the media credibility markers, and then for here I could add something else, like another credibility marker. Maybe Skillshare has that top teacher thing, so I could pull that up. Give it a second. Okay, so maybe I could pull this up, take a little screenshot of it here. It's really just about having a design element that is different from everything else. Because if you look at hers, nobody really knows what the #1 female creator in Singapore is, or what platform it is. So essentially, you can choose whatever it is that you think has credibility for you, and then put it in there. So for mine, here it is, top teacher for Skillshare. I could probably add like Skillshare or something afterwards, or 40,000 plus students. But essentially, this is how this is done. This was the template for it, and I would say this works. I do like that she has a bit more, like 2 things in here. It makes it more balanced in a way. I feel like it adds a lot to the thing. But regardless, this is, 2 more things. Actually, we need to highlight this. So to highlight that, you can have another rectangle. Shapes, all right. I don't know why it keeps putting it on that page. We're trying to edit here. Okay, so there's a shape, and then you could put the shape underneath the text. And then once it's underneath the text, you can change the color. So we'll have yellow, and then I'll layer it to be backwards, maybe back a few more layers. All right, so there's the no nonsense being highlighted. Although I would like it to be a bit smaller. Oops, okay. So drag this to be a bit smaller. There you go, perfect. Maybe balance out the top a little bit. All right, there you go. Okay, so we have that now, and there's a bit extra as well. There's an arrow at the top. So let's do arrow that's pointing at the thing, at the no nonsense thing. So we could find something like small little arrow. We could even use 3 arrows. It's just a design element. And sometimes you really don't have to steal everything. It's more so just taking inspiration. So from here, this is the inspiration that we got. It's a couple arrows that points to no nonsense. And then if you feel like all of this is too close, then we can move maybe me or move all the text fonts over. So based on the example that we have, this is what we came up with. All right, now for the next one. This one's super easy, right? It doesn't have to be explained for the most part, but I'll just run through it anyways, because maybe you want to see how it's done, how it's aligned and everything. So I have that. Let's set it as a background. We can even just have our text on top of here, like right on top of that. So I'll just do add text box. I help. Let's make it white. Okay. I I help you make content with AI, tech, and digital branding skills. And then that's aligned left. And I think that's really all he did. Just like a font, bolded, and then aligned left. Now, of course, there is a color that he used as well. So we'll change to that color. And let me just show you this in a sec. Let's just change this color to a black background. And then we'll copy that same color that he used right here. Take that color, okay? And then we'll drag our own down here. And then basically that's it. That's done. He didn't even change the spacing between the sentences. But here, this works. Depends on what fonts you like. If you have a certain font that works for your branding, I would recommend using that. Otherwise, you could just use whichever font is in this template. All right, next, this one is a bit more fun. I actually like this a lot more because it's super modern. So let's drag this in here, add another page as usual, and then we'll replace the background with this. Okay, so first of all, the font that they used here is a really cool font. I like how there's a bit of a Western type of feel to it. I can't describe what it is, but for that, if you want the exact font, you can go on What Font or something to find a similar one. But we could also find something just as equally modern through the Canva templates here. So as you scroll down, there's a lot of different options. Personally, the one that I just saw that caught my eye was the business font here in Business Journal. We could scroll down a bit more to see if there's anything else. If there's nothing else, we'll use that one. But that one already looks pretty good, strong. So doesn't seem like anything else caught my eye. So let's go back and use that. Now, the thank you here, actually, we just passed it. Talk to us kind of looks like it. It's got that bit of flair to it. So yeah, let's use that just to be a bit different. All right, so we have that here now. Paste it down. And let's get rid of the bottom thing. Okay, talk to us. An ecosystem of high value branding assets in education. I'm just coming up with some text to have. All right, so now we have some text. It is a bit smaller, a lot smaller actually, because it's emphasizing that luxury feel. Here you go. I do like how long it is. Okay, so let's make it a bit longer. An ecosystem of high value branding assets and education for digital creators. All right, now he also has it centered and we'll put it here. Perfect. Now this is where you also drag in a few different logos. So for that, it's Refine Labs, Paceto, and Hatch. And for us, we don't have any particular logos yet, but let's just add the text font underneath of it, which for here, it kind of looks like a unbolded version of the font on top. So you could either do that, or you could either use a classic font that you like. So B2B, creative agency. Oh, it's all caps. Oops. Creative agency. And he uses 2 lines right here. With 2 lines, it's not too long. So it looks like it's part of the logo too. It balances out with the logo on top. So we could have it like that. A bit smaller works. Copy it again for this one. Strategy and consultation. Coming up with random examples. Branding, assets, and templates. Okay. So from here, we would bring this out a little bit. You kind of just want to even it out because there's 3 different points and that looks good. So he would also just have logo. So we'll just find some other logos. All right, here's an MS one. All right, MS. And essentially you just want to find like a logo of something that looks really cool and modern. So I guess for him, his brand is already very modern and in this type of family. Like it's that startup looking vibe, but also 2020s startup vibe. So for that, it depends on what industry you're in. So whatever industry you're in, use those logos, and whatever credibility markers you have, use those ones. If you don't own 3 companies like what these guys have, you could totally also just use like, hey, I was featured in the Wall Street Journal or some instead. So over there, it's just using something in place of that. Okay, let's see something that's white. So like this one was white. So these are some credibility markers that we had earlier as well, and we'll remove the background. But for something like this, definitely preface it by saying like featured on or something. So I would just add a small little text box that said like featured on. But essentially, if you have companies that you're running, put it there just like he did here. The logo would go on top of the subtitle, subtext, and after that, you're done. Also, one thing to note as well, he left a bit of space on the left side because this is where your face would show up when somebody goes onto your LinkedIn profile. Now, for the last one, we have seedily tailor-made content. Okay, we'll move this in here as our reference as usual. And then for this one, we should have a white background. Okay, white background. And then this is our reference. So what do we have here? We have the framed photo or the framed Coca-Cola, which is probably one of their works. And we have the outside frame. So this is what we'll do. We need that background image first. And ideally, it's something relative or related to what you do. And I haven't worked with Coca-Cola, so we're just gonna choose one of the photos of the industry that I'm in or something that represents me, which is AI. So we'll go at one of my uploads and find something that's AI. Can't find anything, then maybe we will just, okay. So this kind of works. All right. This is a cool picture of a 1980s kind of vibe comics. Fits my theme because it's from my time, and we'll just have the globe go there. But you know, it's a bit distracting. Okay, sorry, these were just people I was referencing, if you're wondering. But let's see. Let's just use another example. We'll just see what they have in their photo section. Artwork or AI artwork, minimal. Since their background is minimal as well, we could just find something minimal. So these are just graphics. Okay, let's use this. You'll still understand the concept. So I'll set this image as background. And how should we do this? Right here. Okay. And then from here, there's a couple things to note. One, he has that image in the background. He has the logo that he's representing on the top left. And then he has that framed element on the bottom and then the text on top. So the framed element, we can have curved frame. Just find something that we can superimpose on top of this. Shapes maybe. Oops. Or just curved. See what's on here. Once you find something that fits, maybe this, then you could just drag it over to where it is and then paste it. I'm having a hard time getting it to corner correctly, but if we just drag it big, that's fine. So let's make it straight. Is that better? Okay. So something like this. Okay. Would be better if this was bigger, I think. So curved shape. What other curved shapes are there? Let's take this curved shape. The concept is to have a curved shape that just highlights the separation between the things that are presented. So from here, we have this curved shape. And then I could just make this white. And from there, we'll add our thing. So we'll add our text first, which essentially could be one of these bold texts that Canva has by default. This is actually where it specializes, just like the big, bold, like right in front of your face text. And instead of having what text he has, we could actually just put one of these. So let's go and use this one. Let's think outside the box. And then we'll drag it here. Now that I have it here, I feel like it's a bit distracting, right? But it's fine. It looks good regardless. So let's change the color of this to be black. And then this is where you would also change the colors to your brand colors. So after I look at that, I feel like it's a bit too much. So let's just find something that's not so much. Super kawaii, sail, cold, smooth, and tasty. What do you guys think is best? Let me know in the comments. Oh, this is funny. This is almost exactly like what he has. I wonder if he used this template as well. So custom, let's just use it. Oops, what's going on? Let's just make this bigger. Okay, custom content creation. Now I guess we deleted the top one. Okay, let's see. Custom, gotta drag this out, make this bigger. Sometimes the thing looks a bit weird. Okay, let's just do it slowly. Content. Okay, what's going on here? Let's just ungroup it. Still grouped? That's actually a bit frustrating. Okay, I guess it was just stuck to that other one for some reason, some weird reason. Okay, so content, we have that one down, and let's make it black. Creation, let's also make this black. And what size was the font here? 99.6, 99.6, plus content creation. And then I would just duplicate this and then have that last line. So it could be automation. All right, so now we have our little slogans, and it's a lot bigger than what his is. So we can make it smaller, or we could keep it. Depends on how you like your aesthetic to be. But let's make it smaller just to match what our inspiration was. And here it is, content creation automation. And then we'll have a logo on the side. Again, we're looking at logos, but I feel like these logos have always led us to something that's not as aesthetically pleasing. Luxury logo. Let's see what they have. Oh, no, nothing cool. A startup logo. Sure, we could do a startup logo. Now, on his, you also notice that his background is white here. So if we have something that's more plain and empty here, it would be better. But for example, we just use this AI thing. It's fine. You get the idea of how it's done. So there's the rocket ship. This is hard to redeem, huh? That logo is not very good looking. We could just do a nice font that goes with it. Okay. Rockify.io. All right. Super generic startup branding. Barlow condensed. All right. This is it. But you know what? These days, startups are using the serif fonts a bit more. So I'm going to use the Times Now, which has been really popular. Oops, that's Times New Roman. Times Now is a little different. And I'll make it rockify.io. There you go. And here is our little logo. Now that I see it like this, I want to move it over a little bit. But essentially, this is the template. Designers always have to go back and forth and adjust little things and whatnot, but this is the template for all the ones that we reviewed. If you want to access this template, it's in the description below, and I'll see you in the next video where we are going to go dissect other LinkedIn pages. I'll see you there. Make sure to subscribe. If you want to work together, links below as well.